Black Pride is on the way, and you are the lady at the top of the food chain with that. What motivated you to create it in the first place?
Well, I think the motivation came about from 2005. There was, the electoral surge in terms of the far-right parties, BNP. We kind of recognised that you can't actually just wait to do things. So the black community recognised that actually, as black LGBT people, we're facing the issues of racism and homophobia, biphobia, and we couldn't just stand still and do nothing. We're underrepresented. My first Pride, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe there are so many people that have a shared commonality with me, that I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
However, I didn't feel a complete sense of this is where I belong. This is certainly family, but I got a sense of there's support, there's a network of people, but it didn't reach out to the different sort of intersections of what makes
how complex it is.
Yeah. Oh, look, yes.
So we're at Westminster.
Yeah.
And I think this is a point of contention for you.
Well, this is where legislation's made, and my actual day job, I work for the largest civil service trade union, and I'm the head of political campaigns and equality, and I think that when you walk into the Houses of Parliament, the Houses of Commons, it's so bureaucratic and antiquated that trying to even understand how that sort of institution works, it's not necessarily made for black people. I think what you mean by contentious is the MBE.
I do.
Okay.
So you were offered it and turned it down.
Well, how it works is that you're nominated and you're asked to accept your nomination for your MBE, CBE, OBE, whatever title it is. And I quite gracefully, I say, the 5th, 6th, 7th time in my letter, declined it. And I think...
Why?
I have to be really, really honest. I mean, I'm not about the establishment at all, but it's not about that. It's about, I cannot elevate myself over the people I set out to serve when things like UK Black Pride was founded on a struggle, and you're talking about the word empire leaves such a toxic legacy for me. And as a black woman, how could I possibly accept something when there's been no real recognition or acknowledgement for how this land has been built off the backs of enslavement? Until there's some real work that has to be done on that, until the honours system is changed, I would never accept something like that, because it is toxic. But I don't take anything away from anybody who has decided to accept. You have great people like Doreen Lawrence, who has campaigned doggedly for justice for her son Stephen Lawrence and has made real changes, and they're working from the inside out. But for me, MBE, no thank you.
Okay, wow.
I don't want it.
I'm sure a lot of people were shocked when you turned down the nomination.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how much hate there was. Gosh. I was told, why don't you, excuse my language, F off and go back to where you come from. It's just astonishing that you have people in this day and age that are filled with so much hate that just because something doesn't align with your own values and principles, and as a socialist, I just wouldn't. Let me be. Yeah. No, this is the contention. This is about the Buckingham Palace.
Okay.
So,
this is where she lives.
Yes. Well, it's not a contention.
It is, because the Queen's been on the throne for 65 years. She is the patron of many charities, but has never once agreed to be a patron of an LGBT charity.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's never visited an LGBT charity. The words lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender have never publicly passed her lips in all the years. She's never acknowledged that LGBT people exist in this country. And I think that's really disgraceful, because the head of state is supposed to represent all the British people.
Absolutely. And that's another prime example of why I could never accept any sort of honour from the Queen, where she's not about equality and liberation for all.
Is this why pride in general is so important, to be visible in a place where maybe heads of state aren't verbalising what's actually happening on the street? You're just going, we are here, hello, we exist.
Prides will always be a way of people coming together, showing whether it's collective strength, whether it's collective unity, whether it's a sense of being. But in an ideal world, we wouldn't need a pride. You know, in an ideal world, we wouldn't need a black pride, but we do, because we're still dealing with the issues of racism and homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, Islamophobia. So if we're not seeing ourselves in mainstream prides, positive representation of us in mainstream LGBT magazines, media, then we've got to create something that helps elevate and empower people, rather than people feel disempowered by not seeing themselves somewhere. Waking up and walking, this makes me political. Being a woman makes me political.
Being a lesbian.
Being a lesbian, a very proud African, West African, Ghanaian to be specific, lesbian, makes me political. And if I'm not feeling that, seeing that, smelling it, eating it at prides or any sort of activities which are around LGBTQI people, then it's not right for me, and it shouldn't really be happening.
God's powerful, powerful words. I feel inspired. It's radiating off you. With regards to London as a hub of LGBT-ness, does it feel like it's a safe space for people like us? Is it somewhere that you would encourage young LGBTs to come when they're old enough and they're free?
Is it safe? I think that we focus so much on London that some of the stuff we need to do is about reaching deeper out into communities, and making sure that some of the money that's pumped around London is also pumped around, you know, regions and nations. So people can feel safe in the places they want to be in.
Pride over the years has changed in the sense of what's being fought for. Right now, this year, what do you think are the main focuses for Pride?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, the rate of hate crime, the support for asylum seekers, even equal marriage in Northern Ireland, because that's a campaign that needs to be had. So yes, we can talk about, yes, well, we fought the battle and won the battle for equal marriage, but that's in England.
And well, that's only one part of the battle as well.
Exactly. There are lots of battles in very different ways. You know, I think racism in our LGBT community.
What stories do you hear of it? In 2017, what still goes on that maybe we don't see on a surface level?
I could be on a panel sat with, you know, 3 white men, and they will all speak over me. Is that because I'm a woman, or is it because I'm black, or they're not recognising their privilege? So there are a lot more covert, subtle still
they
hurts.
think they're subtle.
Yeah, forms of racism, and things need to be challenged. People need to have a voice. I go back to that, in an ideal world, we wouldn't need a pride. You know, in an ideal world, we wouldn't need a black pride, but we do, because we're still dealing with the issues of racism and homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, Islamophobia. So if we're not seeing ourselves in mainstream prides, positive representation of us in mainstream LGBT magazines, media, then we've got to create something that helps elevate and empower people, rather than people feel disempowered by not seeing themselves somewhere. And what we do in UK Black Pride, it's not about keeping it separate. We aim to work with all prides right across the country, because we see ourselves very much as part of the Pride family. So we talk about Pride season. We will promote London Pride because we work closely with them. We will make sure people get to Birmingham Pride, because we want to help diversify and ensure that people feel that that's their pride.
Well, I can't wait for it. Thank you so much.